Hi, I'm Miss Debbie from the Morton Grove Public Library, and this is Folk and Fairy Tales. I'm back in my Storytime corner, and I have a new fairy tale for you. I have never read this on in a classroom or at the library before. It's kind of a wacky tale all by itself. Even before I read the wacky version, it's kind of upside down, and we'll find out why as we go on. The name of the tale is The Princess and the Pea. That's right. A princess and a tiny little pea. That's a real pea. It involves a princess, of course, and many, many mattresses and blankets. Kind of crazy, right? Hans Christian Andersen wrote this down. And as we know, he wrote a lot of fairy tales. But this was not an original fairy tale. He heard it somewhere else. His version was from Sweden, and there are others say that there are similar tales from India about how you can tell if someone is royalty. So let's begin by reading a simple version. It's put out by Penguin for young readers. It's a retelling by Harriet Ziefert, The Princess and the Pea. Once there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess, but she had to be a real princess. But the prince sent all of them away. He did not think they were real princesses. Oops, wait a minute. Did I skip a page? Oh, yes. I'm going to go back and read that. The prince looked and looked. He met many princesses, many, many princesses, many, many, many princesses. And he sent them all away. One day, there was a big storm. A princess knocked at the door. "Come in," said the king. "Come in," said the queen. Oh, what a drippy princess. Her hair was drippy. Her dress was drippy. Her shoes were drippy. Did she look very much like a princess? But still, she said she was a real princess. The queen said, I will see if this is a real princess." And off she went to make the bed. First, the queen put a tiny pea under the mattress. Next, the queen put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mattresses on top of the pea. Then she put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more mattresses on top of them. On top of the 20 mattresses, the queen put 20 down covers. Then she called the princess. "Your bed is ready," she said. The princess went to bed. Oh, what a sleepy princess. In the morning, the queen asks, "How did you sleep?" And the king asked, "How did you sleep?" And the prince asked, "How did you sleep?" "Oh, I did not sleep," said the princess. "I did not sleep at all. I did not sleep because there was a big lump in my bed." The king and the queen smiled. "You must be a real princess," they said. "Only a real princess could feel a pea under 20 mattresses." The prince married the princess because he knew she was a real princess. And the pea, they saved it forever and ever. When Hans Christian Andersen tells it, he said they put it in a museum so all the people could look at that pea. There's a lot of silly stuff about that story in many, but let's look at my checklist, okay, and see if it is a normal fairy tale. Well, for one thing, it doesn't have to include fairies. We already know that. It is set in the past, a long, long time ago. It has some, not really make believe, but I would say unbelievable or ridiculous aspects. There are not necessarily good and bad characters in this story, although some versions make the queen very sneaky and bad. No magic. No events, people, or events in threes. There's only one pea and 20 mattresses and 20 blankets. There is a conflict that needs to be solved. The prince is looking for a wife, and he's having a hard time finding a real princess. There are often happy endings, and this one does have an happy ending, and they usually contain a lesson. Well, when the princess arrived, she was all wet and drippy, and she did not look like a real princess at all. So the lesson might be that looks can be deceiving. And when put to the test, she proved herself to be a real princess. And the test was sensitivity. Now, in many, many other fairy tales, it's usually the prince who is put to the test to see if he is worthy of marrying the princess. But his tests uh, involve things that take strength and bravery, and he has to slay a dragon or an ogre or a giant or something so that he can save the kingdom, win the heart of the princess, and then they get married. But this one, the princess just had to prove she was sensitive. Many people think that Hans Christian Andersen was kind of making fun of royalty. He thought he was just as good as they were. You know, you can be sensitive in a good way. That would mean that you are aware of other people's suffering and you are kind and compassionate in all that you do. But then there's another way to be oversensitive. And that is where you are irritated and annoyed by every little tiny thing, and you are incapable of understanding real suffering. Which one of those do you think that Hans Christian Andersen was trying to communicate in this story? Whether the princess was royal because she was sensitive and kind, or royal because she was overly sensitive and any little tiny thing could irritate her? I'm not going to tell you the answer. You can talk to someone in your family, your teacher, your brothers and sisters, and decide. What do you think Hans Christian Andersen was saying? Well, as silly as that story is, I have one that is even sillier. Princess Pigtoria and the Pea. This is by Pamela Duncan Edwards and is published by Orchard Books, an imprint of Scholastic. There she is. Princess Pigtoria was very poor. Her palace had peeling paint and collapsing plaster. She planted pansies and petunias. She swept and she polished. It's hopeless, she protested. My palace looks like a pigsty. If only I had enough pennies to have it painted. Ah, she's wearing pink. One day, Princess Pigtoria read a personal ad in the paper. Wanted, a proper princess to become the bride of Prince Proudfoot of Porksville. Princesses must apply in person. If I married the prince, pondered Pigtoria, perhaps he could help me with my palace, make my palace pretty again. So Pigtoria departed for Porksville. Presently, Pigtoria stood in the portal of Prince Proudfoot's palace. She pounded on the door. A page led her into the presence of the prince. So you are applying to be my bride, said Prince Proudfoot. I'm very particular. Only a perfect princess will do for someone as important as me. And you're not at all punctual. It's past supper time. That wasn't very polite, thought Pigtoria, padding after the parlor maid toward the guest apartment. But Pigtoria didn't know that the prince had a plan. He had placed a pea under her pillows. Only a proper princess would be prickled by a pea beneath such a pile. What a pity I didn't pack a picnic, sighed Pigtoria. We could purchase a pizza, suggested the parlor maid. So Pigtoria picked up the palace phone. I'd like plenty of pizzas, she ordered, with toppings like peppers, pickles, poppy seeds, Parmesan cheese, and peanuts. I'll pass on the pepperoni. Percy the pizza pig soon appeared at Pigtoria's door. You're very prompt, said Pigtoria, but oops, how pesky. I don't have any plates. No problem, replied Percy, popping off to the pantry. Soon in paraded the keeper of the pantry keys with paper plates and plastic cups, the palace porter with a pitcher of pineapple punch, and the chief potato peelers with potato chips and popcorn, and the pastry cook with a pumpkin pie. Won't you all have a piece of pizza? Asked Pigtoria. So Pigtoria, Percy, the parlor maid, the keeper of the pantry keys, the palace porter, the chief potato peelers, and the pastry cook ate until everything had disappeared. Then the parlor maid played the piano and everyone performed the polka until they were pooped. Finally, Pigtoria said, "It's past my bedtime. We must part." Aha, the pages are stuck. Panting, Pigtoria plucked onto her pillows. She didn't spy the pea popping out and plopping through a hole in the planks. Oop. Oh, can you see that? It's so tiny, but there it goes. So the pea is not even under the mattress. But Pigtoria couldn't sleep. The pizza, popcorn, and pie crumbs on her pillows pressed through her pajamas painfully and gave her pins and needles. In the morning, Pigtoria went to join Prince Proudfoot for a plate of porridge. "I slept pitifully," complained Pigtoria. "I have purple patches everywhere." "Splendid!" cried the prince. "Then you were prickled by the pea I placed under your pillows. This proves that you are a proper princess. You have permission to be my bride." "You put a pea under my pillows?" exploded Pigtoria. "I am not impressed. I could never be the partner of such a pompous prince. I much prefer Percy the pizza pig." "Oh, Pigtoria," cried Percy the pizza pig, who had spent the night in the pantry, pining for the princess. "Let us become a pair." "Peachy!" cried Pigtoria. The keeper of the pantry keys, the palace porter, the cheap potato peelers, and the pastry cook clapped. So, in April, Pigtoria put petals in her pigtail, Percy put on his pinstripe suit and pork pie hat. "You look like a proper prince," whispered Pigtoria, as the preacher pronounced them pig and sow. Pigtoria and Percy opened a chain of pizza parlors, which proved to be very profitable. They painted Pigtoria's palace, and they purchased a purple pickup. Prince Proudfoot received no other applications from princesses, proper or not. He was so depressed that the parlor maid took pity and proposed to him. She's got a ring. He presently became a much more pleasant pig. Everyone was perfectly happy, as it is possible to be. As for the pea, the pocket mouse made it into a big pot of pea soup, and he held a party for all his pals. The end. That was positively pitiful. So many peas. What do you think would happen to a pea if you slept on top of it? You put 20 mattresses and 20 blankets. Do you think it would pop? It would get squished, just like that. Can you see that? I flattened it out a little bit. a very silly, silly story. And that is the end. It is time to say goodbye. Skidamarinka-dinka-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. Skidamarinka-dinka-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you and you and you. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening and underneath the moon. Skidamarinka-dinka-dink, skidamarinka-doo. I love you. I love you too. Boop, boop, be doo. Bye bye.